going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, Pete's Carport, and today we're going to dive right back into our 1991 BMW 318i e30. This is a drift car, and when I picked this car up, it was fully gutted, and I don't like that. I want some sort of style to this car, and I got a box full of stuff from, he even had the rear seat, and I just never was able to get it from him due to the coronavirus, and he's not answering anymore, so I'm probably going to give up on that. So we're going to do a custom rear seat delete, custom door cards, and we're going to put a really lightweight carpet in this car because I don't like it completely bare. Now, I don't want to put a bunch of weight in here, and I don't want to spend a ton of money, so I came up with a game plan. I did find some really cool plastic door cards online, but they got up there in price. It was going to cost me quite a bit, like probably $300-400 just for the door cards, and then I hated the rear seat delete options they had, and I know I could come up with something a little bit better. So let me show you what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be using some real thin plywood. This is 1/4 inch. I wish they had 1/8 inch, but they didn't have any available, and this was cheap. $6 for each 2x4 sheet, and we're not going to need that much. So this is going to be a very inexpensive project. Now, what I did was I went ahead and cut a bunch of pieces of cardboard to that exact size. This piece here is not the exact size because we're going to use that for the upper shelf, and I figured we only needed half anyways. And then, let me show you guys here in a second. I have 2 of the stock door cards for this car, and so I was able to use those as templates. I actually have one front and one rear for some reason that the guy who sold me the car gave me, and he said he didn't have the other 2. So I hadn't even looked online to put the stock ones back in there, but my God, they are so expensive. And honestly, I'd rather go with my own style. So we're going to come up with a really cool game plan. Once again, this is just a drift car, so it's just for me to see when I get in and out of the car, and I like it to have a style to it in case I want to take it to a car show or just kind of drive it around and enjoy it. So let's get started. I'll show you guys exactly what we're going to do. These are going to be templates so that we can cut these pieces of wood to be exact before trying to attempt to cut them and messing up. So this will allow us to kind of mold and bend everything, and I'll show you guys as I do that the process. We'll go ahead and cut the wood, fit it in, and I'll show you guys each one of those steps. Alright guys, so after some cutting, some trimming, and just kind of fitting it in, it is looking like it's going to be really good. Now, what I got to do here is make some notes because I don't want to cut this far, so I need to make a note that this is where my measurement's going to be, and I'm just going to measure everything out to be equal, so that side will be equal distance in where the pole starts here. So I had to cut this back a little bit for it to fit. As you can see, there's quite a gap there, and I don't want that gap. So when I before I make all these cuts, I'm going to make notes all over the board here, and then I'm going to do each piece individually, lay it in there, make sure it's going to be good. Now, I'm going to tack this down with only a few self-tapping screws probably, because this is going to hold in by cutting out these little grooves right here, and I want to be able to access that fuel pump if necessary. Up here, I don't mind just tacking this down. So I want to teach you guys a little trick that I figured out on this back panel here. So, because we've got the third brake light in there, we've got a center point, and that's obviously at 24 inches because this is still the 48-inch piece here. What I was able to do was take the cardboard and fold it exactly along that line, and this way, once I got one side of the piece to kind of go flush up against the window where I felt comfortable, I folded it and cut the other side, that way it was equal, and then I just trimmed this to be completely straight by measuring from here to here and here to here and just taking a straight edge and cutting it. So that helped out a lot. And then I trimmed this to be right up against there flush, so that board's going to touch that and it's going to look like one solid piece. All right, let's go ahead and start cutting our pieces now and laying them in. Guys, I completely shocked myself. I'm about an hour and a half in total on this project, and everything is already laying in very nice. So the goal here now is to make some metal brackets that hold this into place. This will stay by itself. You can see that just slid. And this upper part here, I'll probably put a couple self-tapping screws, but everything should just kind of lean up against. That way, if I need to get to the fuel pump, just a couple of screws on the bracket, and then I can pull up this whole thing easily. I am absolutely stunned by how this is coming out. You guys haven't even seen yet what I'm going to be doing for the paint, which is going to blow your mind. I can't wait to get to that. Up here, I do need to trim that a little bit different. That's the only thing really left. And then we'll move on to the door panels. All right, guys, so now we're going to move on to cutting the door panels. And luckily for me, we have both the front and rear, ironically just one of each, so that we can use this as templates. So what I did was I went ahead and traced around them, and then I laid them up against the car and trimmed what needed to be trimmed, because we're not going to be laying it across the top like the stock ones are. We're just going to be screwing it into the actual door frame. Now that's the part that I've got to kind of come up with a plan, because these were all attached with little clips into these little prong holes here. A lot of them broke. In fact, this one's jammed in here. So I think what I'm going to do is use some of these holes here, drill it out in the wood, and then use some brand new push pin type styles. Now, I'm probably never going to take these door panels off, so I could put them on with some self-tapping screws, but I think it'll look a lot cleaner if we use push pins. So I'm going to go down to Ace Hardware and just see what they have that'll fit into this size hole. This needs to be popped out or drilled out, and that's your size hole there. So that's really it. And then we'll be moving on to paint. Well, I got to sand the edges of everything and then move on to paint. So stay tuned, guys. I'll show you guys kind of fast forward through all of the door panels. So guys, sometimes projects change right in the middle, and I just was not happy at all with the way the paint looked. To me, you could see the wood grain. It looked very cheesy. You could see all the imperfections in my cut, and it just wasn't an easy process to do, laying down primer, paint, and then laying on the metal flake and that heavy clear coat stuff. It was just going to take a very long time to do in between drying and all that, and for me to not be satisfied with it, I decided not to move any further with it, cut my losses, and actually save money. So let me show you guys what I just picked up. This was I went down to Joann Fabrics, and it was on clearance like most items at Joann Fabrics, and I paid $24 for over 6 yards, maybe 7 yards of it, because it was the last of the roll and they just kind of threw in the end of it. And so very, very inexpensive, and this is going to give me that retro BMW look. In fact, I've already done the left side, and I'm going to show you guys exactly how I did on the right side. Now this is the rear, so we're starting with the rear due to the fact that I want to make sure I learn as I go if I make any mistakes, which of course I'm going to, and I can use the benefit of that to the front side and make that look really, really nice, and then pass that on to you guys. So what I did was I picked up this Permatex heavy duty automotive headliner adhesive. They also have a couple other brands out there like Gorilla Glue that are really good. I've used them both. This one just seemed to last a little bit longer. And then I went and picked up these small metal screws here. They're sheet metal screws, and we use these to attach it. So let's step out to the car now. I'll show you guys how the first one came out, and then we'll come back and finish off this one, and I'll show you guys the whole process. Alright, so now that we're out at the car, you guys can see how the finished one looks. Now, one thing that I was kind of a little upset about was it looks like almost I angled these, but what I tried to do is lay this completely straight, and if you look at the middle here, these lines look pretty straight. They might be off by a hair. It's not very easy once you're gluing it, so you really want to get used to laying it down properly and having a nice area to do this. And I'll show you guys that on the second one, how I laid it down. Now, the nice thing about this stuff is you can pull it back, re-glue it, pull it back, re-glue it, so you have plenty of time to do it. And that's why I like working with that headliner glue, and it lays on really nicely, and it really holds the material on there permanently. So this is how it came out. Now, I use these screws that are very small because I did not want to have any issues hitting the windows, specifically on the front. These ones we're changing out to be Lexan or plexiglass or whatever we decide on. The last thing is we're going to, wow, we got a really big storm coming through, so I'm going to finish this off today and finish it up tomorrow. But I'm going to take off all these clips, really degrease and clean down these doors, and I want to do something with the roll cage too to kind of set everything off. So guys, I'm going to go ahead and start the next one, and you guys will see exactly how the process goes, so stay tuned. So in order to get the door handle to line up, what I'm gonna do is take my door panel, line it up where I want it exactly, so along here, and then flip open, see where the door handle is, and I made a marking that was closest to the center. I'm gonna drill a pretty large hole there, and then I'll be able to see exactly where the door handle is and get a better measurement by doing like an X, and then trying to cut that shape using the original door panel we had and measuring it out in there. So I'll be able to kind of mark exactly where the edges are, hopefully, or close to it. And it may not be exact, but we're going to be very, very close, and we can kind of make some adjustments if needed. The last thing I had planned for this video was to install these door check straps here, and unfortunately they came in and I just don't like the color. It clashes way too much with the interior, so I'm gonna see if I can swap those out for some black ones. But without further ado, let's check it out.